Like we know, it happens every Saturday, 9 a.m. West African time. And my name is Ola. I'm the founder of the Money Mate Club and also the founder and CEO of olaolanli.com, where we are focused on helping people secure their financial future through profitable investing. And the focus of this session is just to talk about um, what's happening globally and how it affects your pocket. So we're going from things that are happening in the global economy to African economy to Nigerian economy. And first of all, I just want to say there might be some background noise. Please don't be upset. I've asked them to bring it down a little. It wasn't planned, but let's see how that goes. But just confirm in the chat that you can hear me and we should be good. In terms of how we roll, I would like for you to state where you are reaching out or you're listening in from or watching from, and I'll be sure to give it a shout out. Yeah. So let's get straight to it. On the global news side, we had an interesting Friday, right? Because a company called CrowdStrike, a cybersecurity company, had like a major downtime. So they were trying to push out an update, but it caused a glitch. Now, CrowdStrike serves a lot of major companies. It serves airline industries. It serves the airline industry, and a lot of US companies were affected. A lot of US airlines, no, the top three US airlines that we know, United, Delta, were affected. Microsoft was affected for a bit, you know. But basically, what happened was that there was an impact, and what happened was that their stock price crashed by about 14%. Now, why am I highlighting this? Why? Because it is social news. It's news that affects people. So if you were traveling in any of those airlines yesterday, you would have been affected. But and then when you see the stock price crashing, you're thinking, oh, that's just it. That's what happened. But beyond that, I really want to unpack why people actually sold, why the stock price actually crashed. It's because when you see that, oh, you are Delta and you are exposed to this particular thing and it affected you so significantly, what happens is that you begin to review if you should still be exposed to it in that level, if you should be getting a partner company or a competitor, you should be onboarding another competitor kind of thing. So what happens with things like this is that the users of that service begin to rethink, right? Now, the stock price came down. Now, what will take it back up is one, for example, when they fix the glitch and everybody's back up, that's one, temporary. Second thing is that the risk management of those companies are going to be saying, this happened once. How do we make sure it does not happen again? Should we move into another platform or should we be splitting our services? That is a loss of market for CrowdStrike. Now, once you can show that, once CrowdStrike comes back and shows that, okay, their revenue stayed same over a good period, then people will say, okay, it's fine and good to go. Now, why am I highlighting it? Because a lot of times people think that stock price movement is random, meaning that you can just wake up and the stock price will move. But no, it's not like that. People are making informed, real decisions and using correlations to decide whether they should stay with the stock or not. That is actually why stock prices move. Now, on to the next news, which is also in that same space. Netflix, everybody knows Netflix. Netflix released some really good numbers. In the club, they had put a hold on buying Netflix shares because there was a point where they were struggling with revenue. They have been in losses for a while and they were struggling with growth. And then people were not sure how the markets would accept the ad based Netflix segment. So basically, what Netflix was proposing is that the same way Google makes money from ads, they would also start making money from ads, and people were not sure. So we put a hold on buying Netflix shares in the club, right? And if you don't know, it's the money club we're talking about. Haha. But anyways, Netflix results that were released last week showed that, oh, the ads segment is actually doing quite well. They grew their subscribers by 8.8 million quarter on quarter, if I'm not wrong. But I need to confirm that. But basically, their ad supported membership rose significantly. But guess what? The stock price still came down even after the good news. Why? Number one, Netflix says that this is the last time they're going to be publishing growth in their membership and their subscription business, the growth of the numbers, because they want to focus more on revenue and on profit. Now, if you are an investor, you understand that the revenue and the profit doesn't just come. It's coming from tracking the growth in subscription. So if you're not going to give me subscription data, then I'm not sure about what you're doing. I can't predict where you are going. That's one. And then also, because if you have been following Netflix, Netflix is now, they're evolving, they're trying to move into the ads business, but they are now saying they're at a point where they want to now create a proper ads business. Now, if you are going to be making a change, which is good, but we are going to be blind to that change, people are like, am I really sure I should be holding this stock? And so they sold. What am I saying? The stock market, as much as you might feel like, okay, this stock, this is good news, so it should be going up, but it didn't happen. No, it's not like that. You have to look at it holistically. You have to look at it long term, because stock market is long term, right? So, and if long term we're not going to be getting kind of data that we need, then we're not sure. And so people are like, okay, let's put a hold. Let's see. Let's just stand on the sidelines and work. But for me, I like the fact that they want to focus more on revenue and profit, because they have been a loss making company for years. For years they have been making losses. Like, wow. But let's see how that goes with Netflix. We wish them all the best. We're loving the service that they're delivering on. And we actually do wish them all the best. I'm curious to see how the ad segment will work and grow. Also, because even Google and Co are being almost like recalibrating on the ads, and that as a revenue generating thingy. So let's see. Anyways, before we move on to African news, I just want to highlight that this is powered by the Money with Club. The Money with Club is a community of investment professionals who are learning about investing and taking action. So if you've not heard about us before, please check us out. It's an expression of olaoladile.com, a financial wellness company. So in olaoladile.com, we provide financial wellness trainings for companies. We would help you. You can do one-on-one sessions if you need to put your finances in order. If you want to teach your kids or a group of young kids about money, talk to us. Like anything has to do with planning your finances, reach out to us. Um, yeah, so let's move on. Okay, yeah, connect with us actually on social media at Ola Oladile and at the Money with Club. Now, on to Africa news. Now, if you've been following Kenya, you would have known that they had riots. In fact, the police had to suspend, like, they made it illegal for anybody to come out to riot, and then the court just like overruled that people do have a right to protest and stuff. However, that's not even the concern right now. The concern is the fact that um, they have an economy to run. Bills need to be paid, right? And I think I would say that the leadership of Kenya should be held responsible for this, because they shouldn't have allowed it to get into a social issue. And if you listen to our um, previous covers on Kenya and their issues and the challenges around their economy, one of the things that I highlighted was it must not degenerate into a social issue. Once social unrest gets into the conversation, it becomes very, very tricky. Why am I saying that? Because there are bills that need to be paid. Like, the way to grow an economy is by spending. The way to pull people out of poverty is by spending. But you have to spend money. Like, it's not air you're going to spend, right? So you need money. What are the options every government has to actually increase their revenue from taxes, right? Taxes, all those revenue generating things, pay fees and stuff, and then to borrow. That's how countries raise their revenue. That's how they get the cash to spend, right? Now, I mean, it's a global thing, right? If you've ever heard of debt ceiling, government shutdown in the US, all that drama is because the US government, the presidency, the executive have reached the ceiling for which they should borrow. And they're like, if we don't borrow, we won't be able to pay salaries. That's what's happening. That's actually that whole government shutdown. So it's a global pandemic. But the difference between America and a Kenya is the fact that if America needs to pay bills, the best or the easiest thing, or not even the easiest, but their fallback, like last fallback, is that the Federal Reserve would print dollar. But you see, if Kenya has obligations in USD, they cannot print USD. They have to create Kenyan shillings and convert it to USD, and then subsequently pay those obligations abroad. Therein lies the issue, and therein lies the difference between a US and a Kenya in struggling with debts. So Kenya cannot afford the have like an $80 billion deficit or obligation that they need to figure out how to plug. Now, that being said, the people are saying no taxes. Um, the government is trying to cut the budget. Let's see how that goes on that. I do feel like they need to tighten their belt. They need to, some major cost cutting decisions need to be made. However, as the citizens of Kenya are protesting and are saying no tax and no tax and no tax, guys, a massive bill needs to be paid. And we don't want to get into the default side of things. It can get messy quite quickly. You really do not want to be like like Ghana. Like you really, really do not want to be like Ghana. And also, I wish them well though. But in all the protests, perhaps we need to find like a middle ground because taxes need to be increased and a little bit of more borrowing needs to be done. But I guess the focus should be more on whatever is done with that money and how much value is being created by the tax that is generating from the taxes that are generated, how much is being deployed and how well it is being deployed. I think that should be more of an issue than whether there should be taxes or not. That's that for that. And then the next thing is out of Rwanda, and I mean, the president of Rwanda is going for his fourth term, and his terms are like 8 years, right? And there was a lot of debate around this in terms of why should he be there for so long? And it's like, but Rwanda is working more than most African countries, so are we really sure there should be a problem there? I personally do not have an issue with um his method of leadership because it's almost a mix, like a hybrid between democracy and military service. Because, or is it, and monarchy, not even military, almost a mix between democracy and monarchy. It's just that I would prefer if there could be a documentation or a new theory around governance that could be written out of it so that everybody knows the game that is being played and how the transitions will go. Because for me, I think the major issue is, yes, you're doing well right now. Yes, the country is actually growing. Yes, the country is positioned well, but you're not going to live forever. If you do not transition while you're alive, it could literally be a massive reversal once you leave this earth, and it's inevitable. It's not a curse. You are going to leave this earth at some point. And as you get older, it becomes one of those very unplanned things, right? Because leadership is intense. So I wish the people of Rwanda well. I congratulate them. I hope they're happy with the change, with the status quo. But I think as Africa, they are a country we should all respect. They are doing things right, at least from where we can see they're doing things right. So we wish them well. And finally, Nigeria. Out of Nigeria, what's happening? So the first thing out of Nigeria, let me look at the news. Okay, yes, the banks. The federal government has announced that they are going to um, tax revaluation gains. Now, let me explain that a little bit. So, imagine you had dollars, you have a dollar note, $100 note and you bought it at 400. But now, black market or official rate is at 1.5, right? 1,500 naira. Now, you have not banked the profit. But if someone was to say, how much are you worth? And if that was only $100 you had, how much are you worth right now? You would say you are worth um, 1,500 naira, right? In naira terms. So you see that difference between the 1.5 and the 400, that 1,100, that is your revaluation gain. It is not, you've not done anything. It's just because currency moved from 400 to 1.5 that you have that gain. Now, what has happened is that banks had dollar balance sheet, they have dollar liquidity, they have dollar capital. And because of the move in exchange rate, they have like a massive difference in their profit, in the value of that FX. By not and not by doing anything. I mean, I guess I would probably would say that the federal government did the work to get the dollar to where it is, right? And they're benefiting from it because they were positioned right. So what the government is saying is that you see that 1,100, I'm going to charge 50% tax on it. Now, the first thing is then legal backing. I have been in banking for almost 20 years now. I cannot figure out what law they are standing on to make this arbitrary decision. I don't know. But the only thing they say is that after God, fear government, such that I struggle to see how the banks are going to be able to protest this. That's the only thing I can say. And in terms of implementation, central bank will just debit and it's done. So I struggle to see how they can protest this. But in terms of looking at it from an investment perspective, who is the person that's going to be affected most? The investor, the owner, the shareholder of the company. Why? Because this is probably that should go to you. Ideally, in a year when you do such a revaluation gain, there should be like a windfall dividend type thing, right? Because it's like extraordinary profit. It doesn't happen every time, right? But you're not going to get that. Central bank or no, that the federal government is going to be taking out 50% of that, right? So that's one. Now, from the external perspective, as someone coming into the system to say, I want to invest in the banking sector in Nigeria, it is actually quite disconcerting because if there is no particular law, if you're coming to invest, you're going to be looking at the tax system and to be saying, okay, these are the things I should be considering and stuff. But if arbitrary taxes are coming, you really can't plan. And so it's not good as an investor for you to be seeing those things just coming out randomly. So I do not think that, except they should publish. I don't know. I have asked a couple of experts in this space that what law, which tax law are they standing on for this? And then especially targeting the banking sector directly, it seems very arbitrary. But if they don't come out with that, then I think it's quite worrisome, because it means that something else can happen. Something like you just can't plan. And I think that's where the issue lies. Because in this time when they're going to be raising capital, where banks are raising capital, they will try to raise externally, they try to raise from foreign investors. These kind of conversations will be had like, okay, so if I bring in money, what's the guarantee that I position myself to be able to benefit from a devaluation? And when I do benefit from that devaluation, the government takes the money. Like that's the bigger thing. So yes, it might generate, it's good that the government is going to generate revenue in the short term, but in the long term, what impact would that have on our economy? I'm not quite excited about it. And then finally, Access Bank raises 442 billion through its syndicated tier 2 facility. Now, banks are raising capital generally. We need more information about it, but I thought to highlight it because it's important to know that beyond just doing an IPO, if then what an IPO is, join the Money with Club, or doing a rights issue or any of that, or doing a public offer. There are other ways to raise capital, right? Now, there is a law, there's a capital requirement that your tier 2 capital raised by funded by debt must not be more than 33% of your equity capital. So if, for example, I'm going technical, Abby, in simple English, if you have 90 naira in equity capital, you cannot have debt capital of more than about $30, 30 naira, right? That's the thing. So I dare say that as the banks increase their equity holding, then they can do more of debt, right? But debt in USD is also very dicey, right? Especially in this economy. But we wish them well. Their rights issue is still ongoing. Um, Even though the markets are not happy on it, about the pricing and all that. And we discussed that last week, so go and check it out if you missed it out. Yeah. So anyways, we are off. I overshot the time by like 3 minutes. I'm sorry. But usually 15 minutes every single Saturday, 9 a.m. West African time. I would have loved to have people say hi. I didn't see anybody in the chat today, but I can see that people are watching live. Thank you guys so much. Have a beautiful rest of the weekend. Bye bye.